You don't think it'll be the guy you grew up with, the guy who knew your first crush, who got you home safe when you were drunk in college, who stood next to you at your wedding as your best man. You don't think he will be the one to ruin your life. But that's exactly what happened. It started small, casual. We were on my back porch one night, just two old friends having a couple beers. Chris had been talking for weeks about a startup he was involved in, logistics tech, something about automating last-mile deliveries for small businesses. It sounded impressive, but not flashy. He said they were expanding, that they needed capital for a new round of hiring and development. He leaned forward, looked me in the eye, and said, "I'm telling you, man, this is the one. We get in now, we're set for life." Chris had always been the guy with big ideas. I was the guy with the boring job, steady paycheck, 401k, health insurance. I worked in IT compliance for a regional bank. Safe, predictable. But I'd just gotten a severance after a merger. 60 grand sitting in my savings account, waiting for something smarter than rent and groceries. I should have walked away. I didn't. We spent the next 2 weeks going over documents. He showed me pitch decks, financial projections, user growth numbers. Everything looked legit. There was a registered LLC. He even brought me to a WeWork office downtown to meet the team, 2 guys in hoodies who shook my hand and tossed around buzzwords I didn't fully understand. The kicker? He told me he was putting in $100K of his own money, said he was all in. So I wired him $60,000. No contract, no lawyer, just a handshake and a shared Google Doc. He was my best friend. Since high school. I didn't think I needed more than that. For the first few months, things seemed fine. He sent me updates, emails, spreadsheets, screenshots of meetings. Told me about 2 pilot contracts with local retailers, showed me mock-ups for a new UI they were launching. We still grabbed beers, played poker with the guys, talked about our exit strategy like we were on the edge of something big. I felt good, smart, like I was finally playing the real game, not just watching from the bleachers. But around month 7, something changed. Chris stopped texting back as quickly, canceled a couple of hangouts, said he was buried in work. Then the updates slowed, first weekly, then monthly, then nothing. When I asked about the app, he said they were pivoting. Early stage stuff, he said. You know how it goes. Sure, I didn't know how it went, but I nodded anyway. By month 10, I started feeling sick. Every time I saw his name in my phone, I had this knot in my stomach, like I already knew, deep down, what was coming. But I didn't want to believe it. It wasn't until the 1-year mark that everything snapped into place. I was cleaning out a drawer and found the old business card from one of the co-founders I'd met at the WeWork office. Figured I'd shoot him an email, just to ask for an update. Nothing intense. The email bounced. I searched the guy's name on LinkedIn. Nothing. Searched the company. Gone. I checked the Secretary of State's website. The LLC was real, but had been dissolved 6 months ago. My hands started shaking. I called Chris, straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. I drove to his apartment. Empty. Mailbox full. Lights off. Like no one had been there in weeks. I called our mutual friend from college, the guy who introduced us freshman year. You haven't heard? He said. Chris skipped town, owes a bunch of people money. No one's seen him in months. I lost $60,000. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that I lost the only person I trusted without question. My best friend, my brother, the guy who knew everything about me, and still looked me in the eye and lied. I didn't sleep the night I found out. I just sat in my kitchen staring at the glowing screen of my laptop, refreshing pages, rereading the same 3 articles, the same government database entries, the same dead social media profiles, hoping I missed something, that it was a misunderstanding, that Chris would text me the next morning and say, "Hey man, sorry, long week, what's up?" But the next morning came, and the silence was deafening. I started calling around, every mutual connection we had, college friends, exes, people from our gym, old coworkers of his. Most hadn't seen him in months. A few hadn't even realized he was gone. But one call changed everything. I reached out to this guy named Kenny, someone Chris used to work with in sales before the startup days. We'd met at parties a couple times. He was always a little edgy, not someone I expected much from. But when I told him what happened, he sighed. Long, heavy. "Yeah," he said. "You too, huh?" My blood ran cold. "What do you mean, me too?" "He got me for 30 grand last year. Told me I could get in early on some crypto advertising thing. I wired him the money, and boom, he ghosted me 3 months later. I filed a police report, but they said it was civil, not criminal." That was the moment the full weight hit me. This wasn't just a failed idea. It was a pattern, a con. I dug deeper, started documenting everything, emails, wire receipts, screenshots of texts, even photos from the WeWork tour he gave me. Then I posted on a subreddit for scam victims. Within 24 hours, I had 6 DMs. "Wait, are you talking about Chris Langley?" He pitched me the same startup. I almost gave him money, but backed out last minute. Dude, I think he used the same pitch in Seattle in 2020. One guy, Jeff from Minneapolis, said Chris scammed him out of a $10,000 advisory retainer for a fake brand consulting firm. Another woman from Portland said she dated him for 6 months while he ran some import business that never really existed. He had different names, different email addresses, same patterns, high trust, fast pitch, personal connection. Then the money disappears, and so does he. I reported him to the police, to the FTC, to the SEC. I even spoke to a private investigator who said, and I quote, "He's a ghost. Guys like this vanish into new cities and reinvent themselves like it's nothing." Best case scenario? I'd spend 5 grand chasing him down for maybe a chance at a civil suit I'd never recover from financially or emotionally. So I sat in my car that night outside the police station, holding the folder I'd just handed over, and realized something. This wasn't about justice anymore. There wasn't going to be some dramatic courtroom moment where I got my money back and he got handcuffed in a suit. This was about something worse. I was never going to get closure. That wrecked me more than the theft, because I kept replaying every moment we'd had growing up. When he helped me move into my first apartment. When he loaned me $500 for car repairs back in college. When he gave a toast at my wedding and said I was like a brother. All of it? Was it fake? Was any of it real? Did he ever actually care about me? Or was I just another long con? 3 weeks later, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed. No greeting. "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you, but I did. You didn't deserve it. You were always the one person who believed in me. That made it easier to lie." See. That was it. No money, no forwarding address, just that one sick sentence. That made it easier to lie. I kept that letter in my desk drawer for a while. Read it more times than I want to admit. There were nights I pulled it out just to remind myself it really happened. That this wasn't some twisted dream where my best friend of 20 years turned out to be a professional liar. He didn't just vanish with my life savings. He took a piece of who I was when he left. I'd never realized how much of myself was tied to that friendship. I tried to move on. Truly. I went back to work. New job at a smaller firm. Contract position. The kind of place where no one asked questions if you kept your head down and got things done. I kept conversations light. I avoided lunches. I smiled when I had to. But inside, I was exhausted, cynical, suspicious of everyone. It wasn't just the money. It was what the money represented. I wasn't just broke. I was betrayed. And betrayal sticks to you in ways you don't expect. A few months later, I went on a date, my first in over a year. Her name was Liz, graphic designer, funny, sharp, a little shy. Someone a year ago I would have been excited about. But the whole time I kept watching how she looked at the waiter, how she talked about her last job, how quickly she checked her phone. Not because she gave me any red flags, but because I didn't know how to believe people anymore. Every word felt like a setup. Every laugh sounded rehearsed. I wasn't bitter. I was broken. It wasn't just in dating either. I stopped calling old friends back, people who'd done nothing wrong, people who had nothing to do with Chris. But when they'd ask, "How's life?" I didn't know how to answer. What do you say when your world quietly implodes and no one sees the rubble but you? So I pulled away. Slowly. Quietly. By the time I looked up, I was completely alone. One night I saw a message pop up on Facebook from someone I hadn't talked to in years. Mark, an old friend from high school. "Hey, not sure if you saw, but Chris just resurfaced. New name, same game. Thought you'd want to know." Attached was a screenshot, a LinkedIn profile for Christian Lang, listed as co-founder of a blockchain logistics startup in Austin, Texas. I stared at it for 10 full minutes. Same face, slightly older, new city, same grin. The audacity of it made my skin crawl. I could have done something. Forwarded it to the police, to Reddit, to a news outlet, started a smear campaign, called him out. But I didn't. I closed the tab. Because I finally understood something. People like Chris don't stop. They don't feel guilt the way normal people do. They just keep moving. New city, new name, new victim. But me? I had to stop letting him live rent-free in my head. So I started therapy. First session, I sat there in silence for 10 minutes before saying, I trusted someone with everything I had, and he took it like it meant nothing. The therapist nodded. And now? I swallowed hard. Now I don't trust anyone, including myself. That's where the work started, not with getting money back, but with getting myself back. It's strange how grief for something like this doesn't look like what people expect. You don't cry every day. You don't scream at the sky. You just get tired. Tired of thinking about it. Tired of replaying conversations. Tired of wondering how someone who claimed to love you like a brother could look you in the eye and take everything without blinking. For a long time, I thought peace would come the day I got the money back, or the day Chris got arrested, or maybe when I finally confronted him face to face. None of those things ever happened. And somehow, I still found peace anyway. It started slow. I kept going to therapy. I reconnected with some old friends, the ones I'd ghosted after everything went down. Not everyone was still around, but a few were. And they didn't ask for an explanation. They just welcomed me back like I'd stepped out for air and finally come home. I told one of them, Julia, the full story. She didn't say, "You should have known." She said, "You were brave to trust. Don't let him take that from you, too." And for the first time in a year, I believed that maybe I wasn't an idiot, just a human being who gave the wrong person too much credit. I still think about Chris sometimes, not every day, but enough. Sometimes I picture him standing in some co-working space in Austin, pitching a new lie to a new face. Same polished language, same smile, same brotherhood energy he used on me. I wonder if he ever flinches when someone brings up my name. But I doubt it. Guys like him don't look back. One day last month, I found myself at the bank, helping my mom set up an account. While she was filling out a form, the banker, a woman maybe my age, asked me, "Do you have any investment goals of your own?" I laughed, then paused, and said, "I do, but I've learned to ask a lot more questions now." She smiled. "That's not a bad thing." And it hit me. I wasn't broken anymore. I was better, sharper, slower to hand over blind trust, sure, but not hardened, still hopeful, still open, just wiser. I'll never see that 60 grand again, and I'll never get those years back, the ones where I doubted every person I loved and every decision I made. But here's what I did get back: my self-respect, my voice, my circle, smaller but stronger than ever, and the ability to invest again, not in apps or tech decks, but in people who've proven themselves over time. And me? I've proven myself. every damn day since he walked out of my life. So no, I didn't get revenge. I got free. And that, in the end, is worth more than he ever took.